His Excellency Mr. Oscar Rivas, Minister, Secretary of Environment of Paraguay. Your Excellency Mr. Oscar Rivas, you have the floor.
Señora Presidenta,
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and heads of government, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be speaking on behalf of Paraguay to this August Assembly. I'd like to thank the government and the friendly people of Denmark for their warm welcome and generous hospitality from the moment we arrived. Here in Copenhagen, our immediate challenge is to mark an inflection point in humanity's fate. As the Earth Charter eloquently expresses this challenge, where it says, and I quote, "As never before in the history of humanity, our common destiny requires that we find a new beginning, which requires a change of heart and a change of mind." This is what our collective commitment here is all about. History will not accept nor forgive us for handing out plasters. They are not sufficient. It is essential to take a new path and to try radically different ways of coexisting with the Earth and of producing and consuming in a collaborative spirit and with a compassionate heart. The peoples of the South are at this very moment facing the spiraling costs of actions that are necessary if we are to adapt to climate change. However, the states responsible for the direct causes of global warming are not assuming their historic responsibility for the growing social and environmental debt that they have incurred with the most vulnerable people. This has led to an unjust situation that must be urgently corrected. Industrialized countries are not complying with the commitment to mitigate climate change, which not only is a violation of the Convention, but it also violates the basic principles of international environmental law, including the principle that stipulates that states have the obligation not to cause grave damage to the territories of other states. The commitments must not only cut greenhouse gas emissions by at least 45% of 1990 levels by the year 2020, but also, as the Convention stipulates, the commitments must provide sufficient financial resources and technology transfer that our countries need to achieve sustainable development for all of the peoples of the planet. The real solutions for adapting to climate change, such as, for example, the initiatives to conserve and restore forests and other key ecosystems, such as wetlands, the conversion to renewable energy sources, the transformation of transportation systems, and scientific and technological innovation, can only be sustainable if they are implemented in a socially and environmentally responsible fashion, respecting all of the rights, consecrated rights of the peoples and communities. The funds for mitigation and adaptation actions must be guaranteed by public sources and democratically administered by the parties of the Convention themselves. Carbon markets cannot replace these funds because they will never be a stable, equitable, nor secure source of funding. The recent financial crisis has taught us that we cannot trust markets to solve the huge challenges that humanity faces. I trust, and I'm sure that the countries of the South have not come to Copenhagen to exchange speeches that are empty of courage and values and substance. Moral values, sincerity, and courage are the fundamental elements of a comprehensive agreement of the highest possible targets and a clear roadmap for immediate action that we must achieve here and now. We will not accept agreements based on false solutions because the crisis of the world is very real, and the Earth and our peoples, both inside and outside this conference, those who were denied participation in the construction of new paradigms, as well as many people in our countries all over the world are full of hope and clamor for real solutions that are based on fundamental principles. Not incurring harm on other states and other peoples is a fundamental principle of international law that cannot be renounced. Justice and equity amongst peoples are also principles that cannot be renounced, as well as pillars of the ethics that we must reestablish and restore. As long as developed countries continue to postpone the fulfillment of their obligations of emission reduction commitments, the conditions for well-being and survival of billions of human beings will be all the more threatened. Today we face the worst security crisis in the history of humanity. The social and environmental debt generated by climate change must be acknowledged, and reparations must be paid as soon as possible. This social and environmental debt is unbearable and makes it impossible to exercise the right to development. In conclusion, I would like to cite my friend Leonardo Boff, a Brazilian, a Latin American. And he said, "The quickest way to save ourselves is to return to the ethics of care, aspiring to produce without exploitation, producing without polluting, competing without arrogance, and showing our solidarity with the weakest." This is the quantum leap that we must take at this crucial juncture. Then, on that basis, Earth and humanity could celebrate a pact for our mutual salvation. I thank you.